Welcome into episode 543 of the Skate Podcast. I am Brian DeFelice, joined by Bridget Prue and Scott McLaughlin. The Bruins played 2 games over the weekend. They go 1-0-1, and the up and down nature of this Bruins team since the Olympic break concluded continues, Bridget and Scott.
Yeah, I mean, you get a good win Saturday at home, against a Capitals team that sold off two, pretty important pieces in the locker room, and John Carlson and Nick Dowd, 2 team leaders. So you hope that you can pounce on them, unlike Nashville. And not that the Bruins totally dominated or anything, but got a nice professional 3-1 win. And then looked like they were going to follow it up pretty nicely in Pittsburgh on Sunday. And they go up 3-0, 32 minutes into the game or whatever. And then they just completely choke it away and end up losing 5-4 in overtime. Which, we can just go right into my opening shift, I guess. But just can't happen. Not at this point in the season. Not in the middle of a playoff race. That's a 3-point swing. It's not just that the Bruins got 1 point instead of 2. It's that Pittsburgh got 2 points instead of 0. That should have been a 0-point day for the Penguins, who are, I know that it doesn't seem like this to people because of the way the standings are sorted by division, but the Penguins are one of the teams you're competing with for a playoff spot, because out of there's this whole group of teams that are between 73 and 78 points. And obviously the Bruins are in there. Columbus, still the first team out. But then it's Montreal, Detroit, Islanders, Penguins, all right in this mess. And it's one of those teams is going to miss the playoffs, right? Right now it'd be Columbus out. But if they catch someone, it's either someone from the Bruins division in the wildcard race, or it's someone from that Metro division to get into the third spot in that division. And the Penguins are one of the vulnerable teams there. So yeah, that hurts. And it just, you're playing them without Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin, and you're up 3-0. You just can't blow that. It just can't happen. You're up 3-1 at the start of the third. So even if you write off the 5-on-3 power play goal, it's okay, you had an intermission to regroup and a chance to come out and say, you know what, 3-1, let's close the door just like we did Saturday against Washington. Instead, they come out in the third and they're they just look so loose and unstructured, and they're making mistakes and they're not taking care of the puck. And all of a sudden it's 2 goals in less than a minute and a tie game. And then kind of just all hell breaks loose from there. If they miss the playoffs, this is going to be one of those days you look back on and are yeah, that's going to haunt them for a while.
Yeah, I mean, at least they got the 1 point, but they needed to take those points away from Pittsburgh too, like you're saying. Brian, did you want to go next? Should I go next?
Bridget, why don't you go next?
Okay. So my opening shift is about, a bright spot of the game, the second line, and what they've been able to continue to do. So Pavel Zacha has a hat trick. I know Scott just tweeted out something funny about how both times he's had hat tricks this season, he wasn't the first star of the game, because the last one was, wasn't it Pasternak for having a 6-point night? And then Kuzi had 4 goals and then Zacha. So, yeah, just kind of a crazy situation. And then obviously this one is on the road and then the Bruins lose. So he talked about after the game how it was fun in the moment because they were winning in the moment and, they were playing well. His line was playing really well, but then it just, you almost forget about it right away because you needed those points and you let it slip away. So it's not as fun as the last one was with a big win. And my main takeaway is that line has still been an extreme driver of the offense, especially since the Olympic break. Zacha has 8 points, 4 goals, 4 assists in the 6 games since the Olympic break. In his 6 games since the Olympic break, which I guess we can also mention, he looks fully healthy, which is good. He took that time to rest rather than to go over and play for Czech Republic, and he seems to be fully back to himself. And almost, I would say, peak Zach. I don't know if you think that as well. There was a stretch during the record-breaking season a few years ago where he was playing like this, and then like it shows itself at different times, and I think this is one of those times where he's been playing at his best. And I would say Victor Arvidsson is playing at his best, and I don't know how long, but certainly the last few seasons he's already surpassed his scoring numbers, points numbers, goals numbers, and he also, I believe, has 4 goals since the Olympic break. I got to double check. Yeah, he had 2 goals against Columbus and then a goal against Nashville and Washington. And then he's got a few primary assists on different goals recently as well. And I feel like he could have even more. Sometimes the guys that haven't been finishing on like his good setups, and sometimes he's just been barely missing, but he's so noticeable out there, and he has a game-winning goal as well. I was at the Washington game. So he's just been so much more than what I think people thought he was going to be this season, including us. We weren't sure about that second line scoring, and they've proven everybody wrong. So I guess an final point about the second line is if they're going to make the playoffs, which it's obviously right on the bubble right now, Victor Arvidsson could be a big reason, and that's why you end up keeping him at the trade deadline.
Yeah, and you're right to bring them up, Bridget, because on Saturday they had that big win over Washington, which we're not going to gloss over because that game deserves the highlights too. But obviously the Pittsburgh game was the more recent affair, and the way that they lost that one just kind of sticks with you the wrong way. So we'll talk about all of it. And yeah, Victor Arvidsson, hand to the sky. I was very wrong about what his impact was going to be on this Bruins team this year. I think his future going forward is still worth a discussion at a later point, but between his age, his injury history, some inconsistencies in production, I was very skeptical that he would be the guy that he has been for the Bruins. So Don Sweeney was right about that gamble. And Scott, I don't know if you had a thought on that, or Bridget, a final thought on that too.
I was just going to say it's a conversation that I feel like people have been having this week since post-trade deadline. It's a conversation people have approached me to talk about, just like random friends or colleagues in the college side of the hockey stuff that I do. And they're like, oh, why did they keep Victor Arvidsson? And I'm trying to explain it. And he's been a topic of conversation in a positive way. I think most people, I'm sure some people were like, oh, maximize the asset, whatever. But I think that the main point too for him is that I think he wants to be here. So if you like the season he's having, extend him. And it doesn't have to be long-term. He's 32. Bring him back for a year or two, and he seems like a good fit here. I don't know if he's going to find a better fit somewhere else. He has a coach that completely believes in him, line mates that he works well with, and he seems happy here. So it just feels like an all around good fit if they decide to extend rather than, if they were to have given him up. Obviously he could become a free agent and decide to go elsewhere, but it kind of feels like he would want to stay. So
yeah, he's second on the team in 5-on-5 goals, third in 5-on-5 points. That line is the second best line in the NHL in 5-on-5 goal differential. Only Colorado's top line has been better this season. So yeah, if you trade away Victor Arvidsson, that's like a legitimate sell. That's not like trading away from the fringe of the roster. That's trading away a legitimate second liner. Like that's a move a seller makes, not a team fighting to make the playoffs. And I do think there's mutual interest in an extension, and I wouldn't be surprised if that gets done sooner rather than later. I think those talks are well underway from what I've heard.
Well, and that last point too is important as well, because all season when we talked about what are the Bruins going to do with Victor, Bruins Nation was hoping that he would have a good season. That's that his value could increase. Then you could flip him for a first round pick at the deadline, because you didn't think that he would be a part of the future beyond this season. And the closer and closer we got to the deadline, the conversation was, listen, if somebody offers you a first round pick, depending on who that team is, you have to really consider it. especially if you think he's not going to be a part of your team next year. But that last part you mentioned, Scott, of hold on a second, maybe they're going to extend him for a year or two. All of a sudden, it does change that dynamic because you're not talking about an asset that's going to walk in the summer. So, it did kind of shift that conversation a bit, and I think you guys are right to talk about potentially signing him to a short-term deal going forward.
My dad thought he was like 25, by the way. I was watching the game with him yesterday. He's like, they're going to keep this kid. I'm like, what do you mean this kid? I was like, he's 32. Like, he's older than me, Dad. Like, he's like, what? No, he doesn't look that old. So, I mean,
well, parents always view younger adults as kids. I say the same thing. I see a 28-year-old now. I'm like, look at this kid.
Kid, yeah, I know. It's like that Progressive commercial. You're becoming your parent. Sometimes I scare myself with it too. I'll be like, "Gosh, my mom would say that." Oh God.
Yeah, it's funny. Okay, so dovetailing off of Scott's opening shift, which is just kind of the missed opportunity to gain points in the standings in a head-to-head matchup against a team that's around you. We all know the Bruins had a phenomenal January. They were spectacular, and even as we speak right now, they still are, I want to say, 3 points clear of Columbus for wild card 2, but the Blue Jackets have a game in hand. And the Bruins are still within striking distance, as are Montreal, from third in the Atlantic. And as Scott mentioned, maybe it's the Penguins who fall out of the Metro and go into the wild card. So there's a lot of ways that this could shape out still. But either way, the Bruins are still in playoff positioning, and they have games in hand on some of their teams in their division that they're chasing. It seems like Columbus might be the only team around them that has a game in hand on Boston. So I just wanted to preface with they're still in a playoff spot, and they still control their own destiny. With that said, since their fantastic January, they are now 3-2-3 in their last 8 games. Okay, so you've lost in one way, shape, or form 5 of your last 8 since the start of February, which of course had most of the month off the Olympic break. So we're talking the Stadium Series game, the Florida game that followed, and the games since the Olympic break concluded. And when you look at the games, the 6 games since the break has ended, I look at those 6 games and I personally feel as though that they only outplayed their opponent in one of those games. And it's a game that they lost to Philadelphia. Now, I know what people may be thinking, and I understand and I agree. Ultimately, who cares? If you find a way to win, you find a way to win. The points are all that matters. And that's true. That is true. We talked about the USA winning gold against the Canadians. Who played better throughout the course of that game? The Canadians. Who won the gold? The Americans. So doesn't really matter if you outplay the opponent if you don't execute them, right? So I do agree with that. It's just worth noting that they haven't been carrying play for much of this stretch of hockey. And if it continues, then they're going to be in danger of no longer controlling their own destiny, because you're going to start to lose ground on some teams, and maybe you're going to be the team that's going to need somebody to lose a game at the end of the year. And to Scott's opening shift, they've just left so many points on the table. You've left 2 points on the table against Tampa Bay in the Stadium Series game, and now last night against Pittsburgh, where you had a 5-1 lead and a 3-0 lead. And I know people will say every game matters. We can play that game all day going back to October and December, and I agree. But the difference is there's only so many games with the calendar year where you have that type of a lead on somebody and you blow the game. So they just need to get back on the road here and start to string together a couple of consecutive wins, because it's something that they failed to do in quite a bit here.
Yeah, I mean, the split between home and road has been crazy, where you now have a 12 or an 11 game. Wait, is it 11 or 12? It's 12 game home
12.
winning streak. Yeah. 12 game home winning streak after Saturday, and now a 7 game road losing streak after Sunday. And like, it's crazy because like you ask Sturm about it, or players about it, and it's like no one can really seem to pin down any real reason why they're struggling on the road. It's like they're not trying to do anything different. Obviously, they're trying to play the same way, but there just seem to be these stretches on the road where they like lose focus, and would certainly point to early third period of Sunday's game as one of those stretches where it's like, again, like Saturday, they were able to lock down in the third period and close out the win. And Sunday, it just isn't there. It's like Charlie McAvoy's flying up in the play when it's a 3-1 game. Jonathan Aspero's on the wrong side of the ice, coming back in transition. And it's like just details that just aren't there, mixed up D-zone coverage on the fourth goal, right? Where Aspero thinks he's covering the front of the net and Mantha's all alone on the doorstep. Like stuff like that. That's just like, I don't get it. I don't get why it doesn't seem to happen at home. And yet every game on the road now, they're having these breakdowns and they're letting teams back in. They're leaving the door open. They're sloppy. Yeah, I mean, and you're right. Like there haven't been many games here post Olympics where they've outplayed them. I would throw the Washington game. I would say that qualifies as well. I would say that and the Philly loss. But yeah, otherwise, like, I mean, yesterday, the second and third periods, like that was, or certainly the second half of the game was pretty heavily Pittsburgh. And again, just not a good sign. Like that just shouldn't happen when they have Crosby and Malkin out of the lineup.
Yeah. It was a discouraging thing because they had a 3-0 lead, and it was kind of like, oh, okay. When you're watching the beginning of the game, you're thinking to yourself, oh, they understand how important these points are and the opponent, and it looked like the urgency was there and the drive was there, and it just went away. And there were other chances that, like, both times that Pittsburgh tied, because remember the Bruins went ahead late as well. Both of the times that Pittsburgh tied, you knew they were going to tie because they were just all around it. They were playing better, and it just felt like, oh, they're going to find a way to tie this. Oh, they did. And then they do it again towards the end of the game, force overtime, and you end up losing in overtime, which we can talk about. Like, it was, what was it? Like 17 seconds, not even. How many seconds into overtime was it?
Yeah, it was 17 seconds.
Yeah. And Pasta kind of got picked, and
I mean, he definitely got picked. Like they missed it. That should have been a penalty.
You think he held that along though?
It took him out of the play, and then you can see in the replay, like he's looking over his shoulder to kind of like see if someone's calling it, and after Pittsburgh scores, he goes over to the officials and starts like saying like, what the hell is that? Like, why didn't you call that? So there were actually some missed calls throughout that game. But yeah, that, I mean, when it's overtime and it's your best player and it immediately results in a goal after, you question it, obviously. So
yeah, I also I don't want to focus on that because it lets the Bruins off the hook way too easily. Definitely. And McAvoy has a brutal turnover right before that where he's under pressure and for some reason turns into the pressure instead of circling back behind the net and like just keeping control. Like I don't know what he was thinking on that one. Like that was not a good play.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it to dismiss the trailing off and the letting Pittsburgh get back in it. It just happened. So yeah, like, and if it hadn't, who knows? They still could have lost in overtime, but that extra point would have been important for them right now, just because of the nature of what we've seen in the Eastern Conference and in the Atlantic Division in particular. And there are other teams that you can tell really want it, that are right around them. So I don't know if anybody caught the Buffalo Tampa game, but I mean, those are two divisional teams that both were like all in yesterday night. So one of the more entertaining games that you'll see, but just a reminder that, there's a lot of fire still left in the teams around you.
So on that overtime goal that the Penguins scored. So first of all, is it Chinikov? Is that how you say his name? Mm-hmm. So I mean, he did a hell of a job pressuring McAvoy from the moment that the Bruins gained possession, and he forced McAvoy into what was an unforced turnover. But the
Wait,
pass.
you said he forced McAvoy into an unforced turnover.
I know. He pressured him into an unforced turnover. How's that sound?
I think that's still the same thing. I think what you're looking for is he pressured him into making a bad decision.
I guess that's fair. Yeah, well said. All right, so let's move on though. So the play that Pastrnak got picked on, could we all agree that he also tried to help that call along a bit? It didn't. It looked like it was 100% interference. But it looked like David knew what he was doing there, and he didn't get the call that he was hoping to draw, in addition to what should have been a call.
Yeah, that's probably fair, but then call both. Like either way, there's got to be a whistle. Like it's clear. If you watch the replay, Carlson actually moves into it. Like he's not originally standing in Pasternak's way. He sees Pastrnak coming and moves into where Pasternak's skating. It's like. That wouldn't be legal in basketball, where you are actually allowed to run picks as long as you plant your feet. Like that wouldn't have passed in basketball. He didn't even have his feet planted.
I guess the point I'm trying to get to is, in that moment, was David's goal to draw the penalty or to fight through the play? Because if it was to fight through the play, I don't know if that goal ends up happening. He recognized a situation that happens all the time, which is players recognizing they're being impeded and they try to sell it. And I just feel like he took a gamble. I'm going to try to help this call along, as opposed to I'm going to fight through it. That's my question ultimately. And if he gambled that way, obviously it didn't work out for him.
I guess I'd have to watch it again. Like I think even if he stays on his feet, the pick accomplishes the purpose. Like the Penguin, who was it, Chinnikov, who had the puck first, or was it Novak at that point? I don't even remember. But like he had already got the pick alone gave him the separation from Pastrnak. So even if he stays on his feet and tries to fight through it, the puck's in the back of the net 2 seconds later. I think it accomplishes the same thing.
Yeah. No, I know. I agree. I think that's fair. I just wonder if it was so obvious what he was trying to do that the ref just found a distaste for it and then looked the other way. I don't know. Things happen quick. I know refs don't like when players try to show them up and stuff. And I don't know. I just wondered.
Yeah, I would just say that's why you can call both. That's why that's on the books.
Agreed. So one note I wanted to make in general, since they resumed play, has been the lack of scoring outside of the second line. Right. The second line's been fantastic. Had it not been for them, who knows? Because we've talked about, David's had his struggles producing. He found a way to put one in against Pittsburgh at 5-on-5, but he hasn't been going as he was pre-Olympic break. But neither has the bottom six. And I want to say that there's been 4 points total since in the last 6 games since coming back from break between Jeannot, Corrali, Kastelik, Minton, Husnudinov, and Asimont. And I know that the lines have been interchangeable. Sometimes Husnudinov's with Pastrnak, sometimes Geeky is. It kind of changes. But notably, I think you have 1 point between Minton and Husnudinov in the last 6 games, and it was a goal by Kuzi. So I'm just saying that, when they were going well in January, everybody was contributing, and Minton had a great month, and Husnudinov had a great month. And I just think that there's been a lot on the second line, and the bottom 6 hasn't been producing a ton. And Elias Lindholm, as we've talked about, he's not a huge 5-on-5 generator. Pasternak's been quiet. Geeky's been quiet if we're talking outside the power play. So again, it's everybody's got to pull on the rope here, and it seems like that's been part of the issue here.
Yeah, you want some 5-on-5 point totals since the Olympic break?
Please.
So six games. How about Fraser Minton 0, Mason Lohrei 0, Elias Lindholm 0, Morgan Geeky 0, Husnudinov 1.
Oh boy.
Let's see here. Charlie McAvoy 2. David Pastrnak 1 5-on-5 point since the Olympic break. It really is 6 for Arvidsson, 6 for Zacha, 3 for Middlestad, 3 for Jonathan Aspero. Like that, you're right. Like that's it. It's like it's all the second line. They don't have another line going at all since the Olympics.
So there you go. You know, that's why you've won 3 of your last 8. It's part of it. It's part of it for sure. And
it's not even the goals that they scored, which are obviously important. Like they've had a lot of opportunities that they just barely didn't score on. So like their offense in general has been like and it's almost, and you see this with all teams, but when we have a line that's going and the rest of them aren't, like sometimes they drag everyone else up, like the energy level up, because you're watching them from the bench and they like just change the momentum with their shifts. And then all of a sudden, you know, you're changing out in the offensive zone and the next line is feeding off the energy and the other team's tired and like hemmed it. Like, so they can boost the rest of the team as well with like a momentum changing shift. And sometimes you have a fourth line that does that. There's many teams that run like an energy fourth line that comes in, forechecks hard, and, you know, sets up the next line in a better position than they came in. But right now I feel like it's the second line just spending a lot of time in the offensive end of the ice.
And Scott, last episode you mentioned that you don't want to break up that second line because of how well they've been playing. But you also mentioned at some point, if you only have one line going, at some point you have to try to maneuver some pieces around, even if it disturbs that second line, for the benefactor of getting other lines going. And I think right now is a perfect time to kind of re-ask that question and gauge where you're at, because the second line's going so well. It's so difficult to switch them up because it's the only thing positive going. But every game is so precious right now. It's the rubber's meeting the road here. So is this a time to do it, or do you just stay the course? And
well, I think my frustration is that I think there are still other options on the table for Sturm before he does that, but he just seems really reluctant to do anything else. I mean, Pasternak and Elias Lindholm have been stapled together basically every shift since the Olympics, and it's like they've rotated the left wing a little bit between Husnudinov and Geeky, but it's like, why not try a different center there? Like, move Elias Lindholm to the third line and see what that does for him. See if it wakes him up. Which, by the way, like I thought he had a good game Saturday, but then went back to being invisible Sunday. So, like, there's other options you can try. Like, maybe, you know, either I mentioned before, like reunite the kid line, Pasternak with Minton and Husnudinov, or put Minton between Pasternak and Geeky. Like, try something else. There are other options before you split up that second line, but so far the only thing Sturm's been willing to try is flip Husnudinov and Geeky and rotate between Asimon and Steves in the third line. Like, there are other options beyond that, but he doesn't seem willing to do it for some reason.
May I also offer up a new developing situation that happened this weekend, which involves a college player that season might be over sooner than we thought, with Boston College losing their final game of the regular season against Northeastern, and their chances of making the NCAA tournament as an at-large bid are pretty much non-existent. And they would have to win the Hockey East tournament. So at any round were they to lose, he could join you the next day as a possible immediate addition.
Meaning James Hagens.
Yes, I was going to say,
sorry, I thought it was obvious.
I'm stumped. I don't know who you're talking about.
But just in case, like, don't assume.
Sorry. Yes, James Hagens. His season hinges on how, you know, if they can survive in the Hockey East tournament, which I'm not saying that they'll lose early. Like, they've still had good stretches of the season. They were great in the Bean Pot. Can they kind of turn that tournament into, you know, use that experience to help in this tournament, the Hockey East tournament, that for them will start Saturday, for the lower seeds starts Wednesday. But
I think they're the Friday night game. So
yeah,
like
you're right. They ended
in
up
theory,
in the 4-5.
yeah, like in theory, Hagens could be done Friday night. If BC loses that game, they have no chance at an at-large bid. So their season's over if they lose to Maine on Friday.
Yeah, they ended up in the 4-5 matchup, which they had been in second and third place earlier in the season. So they fell out into what is considered the harder matchup, the Friday game.
Is it single elimination?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, didn't the first round used to be like a 3-game set?
Yeah, it used to be best of 3.
Oh, so that's
It's no
changed.
longer
Okay.
that. But yeah, so we were talking about end of March, early April as when he might be coming, but that changed. So, obviously you can't bank on him coming in at a certain point because we don't know. It could change if they keep winning, but you also know that it could be sooner now. And the question is whether or not Don Sweeney wants to bring him right to Boston or Providence or what have you. So, but it still is an option if you're feeling like you need to add a little bit to the offense, and he could be coming soon.
So I want to jump back to the Penguins game for a second, and I want to try to peel back the layers of the onion that is their terrible road play and record as of late. And one thing that you may hear Bruins fans or spectators mention is, well, you don't get last change when you're on the road. It can't be that much of a big deal, right? Like, what is it that's causing them these issues on the road? What's the problem here? Because they do play so well on home ice, but the polarity between the records is what is there one thing? Is there a couple of things, or is it just they don't execute as well?
Well, one trend that had been there that they actually broke yesterday was prior to Sunday, they had given up the first goal in 8 straight road games, and they had lost 7 of them. So, like, that was a clear problem. Like, falling behind early, you don't want to be playing catch-up on the road. So that was a problem. It was not a problem on Sunday. They scored first, and then they scored the second and third goals as well, and we're up 3-0. So, like, that's out the window. So I would have pointed to that as, like, there's problem number 1 is falling behind early. All right, well, they fixed that, and then they still managed to lose. So, yeah, I think, like I mentioned earlier, like, the stretches where they just lose focus, it just doesn't seem to happen at home. Like, I don't know how you explain that. Like, is it
because of the lizard with the pressing the button, the Bruins?
Yeah,
Bruins,
no,
Bruins.
they haven't even been. They actually haven't used that in a while.
Okay.
But I mean, they have talked about like feeding off the crowd at home, so I'm sure that's helping them at home. But that can't, like, it can't be an excuse to like lose energy on the road. Like, I don't know, find a way to create your own energy. Get fired up by opposing fans booing you. Like that shouldn't. Well, there shouldn't be that much of a difference in your energy level, home versus road.
My thought is always that it probably comes down to rest. And like, so talking to a lot of college coaches, and these are teams that have to bus places for longer distances. It's not like the pros fly pretty much everywhere. Busing is, you're sitting, and coaches will tell you they'd rather travel night before, and a lot of these NHL teams do travel night before, but sometimes they get in late. Sometimes they don't get a lot of sleep. I personally don't sleep well when I'm not in my own bed. Like, something about being in a hotel, I feel like I'm half awake, maybe like more alert. I don't know why. But I feel like there's got to be something to be just being away from a situation where you're sleeping better. Where you're physically traveling, you're sitting, you're waiting, your schedule is a little bit off. So, I mean, to me, that always feels like the thing that would throw me off would be if I felt tired from not sleeping well.
Yeah, but I can't buy that. I mean, I've talked to players who
I'm not saying that it is that. I'm just saying if you want to ask, like, is it, not having last change or like all these other road stuff, like things. It's like, to me, my biggest thing that ever bothered me was just feeling out of my routine and not well rested was normally
but it is routine for them. Like, yeah, like it would throw you off because you're not like traveling a ton. Like, this is routine for them. So like, and it's not like their travel's been crazy. I mean, if you want to say like immediately when they got back from the Olympics, some guys were off like those first couple practices. Like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But I don't know. I mean, you're back into it now. It's not, they're not crossing a bunch of times. Like Nashville, is Central Time Zone. That's their only game out of the Eastern Time Zone the rest of the season. And I think it was their only one for like for 2 months or something. Like, it hasn't been a ton of back-to-backs yet. They're about to start getting into more. So they got to figure out, like, that can't be an excuse. They can't be like, oh, well, we lost in the third period on Sunday because there was a back-to-back. It was like, well, it was also a back-to-back for Pittsburgh, and you have 5 more back-to-backs coming up. So if you can't figure out how to win on a back-to-back, you're going to miss the playoffs. I can tell you that right now.
Well,
so
is there a trend of road goaltending being worse? Because I feel
there's a trend of Jonas Korpisalo being worse these last two. I mean, that's certainly part of it. Like that, he wasn't good in Nashville, and he wasn't good Sunday in Pittsburgh. So like,
he had a couple
most
of
recently,
big saves.
that's a factor.
He had a couple of big saves in moments when the Bruins were still protecting a 1-goal lead early or 2. Like there was a couple of point blank saves he made where there was some coverage breakdowns in the slot where I just want to highlight those, because as bad as some of the goals were that he let in, he also had some big saves that, if they went in, nobody would blink twice at that. So he did make some big stops, but yeah, then it's the ones he lets in where it's like, well, Jonas, that's that backhander from that can't go in. It's tricky because he has outings where he just makes some great saves, but then it just gets tarnished with an equally bad one that goes in. And ultimately that's all that it comes down to. That's what matters most, is you can't let those bad ones in. And yeah, I think there's no doubt that the team got sloppy against Pittsburgh at times, and he wasn't there to bail them out in those situations, which again, that backhander to make it 3-2, you can say it's a nice shot, and backhanders are unpredictable, but I don't know, that one just can't go in.
Yeah, and like even beyond the goals in the third period, there was a stretch there where it was like every shot seemed to be an adventure. Like pucks were leaking through him. He was giving up bad rebounds. And I think his rebound control has been an issue most of the season. And was again. I mean, that fourth goal, like I don't know if that officially gets credited as a rebound or not, but it's like going high blocker, the initial shot. And I don't know if he just didn't know Mantha was there, but he like directs it towards the corner. But Anthony Mantha's standing right there, and it goes right into Mantha. And then like he just has an empty net, which again, like Aspro should have been on him. So there's a breakdown there. But yeah, you could not have possibly have had confidence in him in that third period. Like that does seep into the team. I'm not going to use it as an excuse for them, but like it's kind of the whole package, right? Where like the team's breaking down in front of him. He's shaky, and now it feels like any shot Pittsburgh takes has a chance to end up in the net.
It felt like the rebound control was worse than normal, right? Is that an observation that you guys also had?
Maybe, but I do think I'll try to pull up the numbers, but I do think statistically, like he's ranked poorly in rebound control, in rebound goals, like all season.
Yeah.
Something else I saw online yesterday after the game were people coming down hard and on Jonathan Aspro. And I got to be honest. I obviously think there was a couple of plays in that game yesterday that I think he and Charlie would like back as a pair. I'm talking about those couple of goals in the second period. But you have people saying, see, this is what you get when you have a 7D on your top pair. And my immediate reaction is Jonathan Aspro has been nails for the Bruins. And in fact, their record with him in the lineup is sky high. I don't know what the exact percentage is, but I feel like they've their record is outstanding with him in the lineup versus him out of the lineup. And I think Aspero's been great. You can say that he had a couple of mistakes in that game, as did Charlie, but I'm not looking at the Bruins' woes of late and saying, "Oh my God, it's because Jonathan Aspero's in the top pair." I found those comments to be a little bit strange because I feel like the entire fan base has been in lockstep with liking what they've seen out of him, and I don't think he's brought Charlie down at all. Charlie has played some of the best hockey of his career, I would say, in recent stretches as well, and that's been with Aspero in part as his D partner. So I found those comments to be interesting. Not the first guy that I would blame for their lack of success the last little while.
Wasn't Aspero dealing with illness as well? There's something that's going around. And so he missed time. Was it last game or the game before? Was it?
He missed the Nashville game.
Yeah,
travel
with illness. Which I know a few people who have, something currently that it's been a pretty big struggle and it's lingered. So I don't know if that has anything to do with anything, but
yeah. So I think, yeah, there's this weird, and it honestly, like on my Twitter, it's maybe only a few people, but there's this weird subset of Bruins fans who, anytime Aspero makes a mistake, which is like once a month, seem to want to like pile on and be like, that's what you get for playing a 8th defenseman on your top pairing. And it's like, bro, like, where are you the 15 games in a row that he plays really solid? Like, come on. Like, so now we're going to, he was bad Sunday, but like, now we're going to pile on and be like, should have never signed him to an extension. It's like, what season have you watched? Like, honestly, like, it's barely even worth addressing, but yeah, it's like,
even Sunday though, Scott, like when you say he was bad Sunday,
I think he was. I think this was a bad game.
Okay, so outside of the 2 goals in the second period,
I think all 3 goals he made bad plays. I mean, takes the 3-2 goal, he takes a bad angle.
But Charlie kind of left him in the. I agree with you, but it's also kind of Charlie's also at fault there too, and I feel like he was kind of
sorry. The 3-2 goal is Dewar spinning off him, so that's just he just gets overpowered, right? Like, you need a save, but it's Dewar just out muscling Aspero in the first place. And then the second one, he takes the bad angle on the rush and can't catch up to Mantha. And then the third one, he loses his guy in coverage. So yeah, like I would say all 3 he, made a mistake on.
The encouraging thing though, and like the Dewar backhand, right? You're right. He gets on the wrong side of the puck, but you don't watch that play and say, well, Jonathan let up on the play. Like he was busting his ass to get back. Dewar did a hard stop. He did a hard stop with them. He's trying to do the right thing. So it's even when players make mistakes, if they're trying to do the right thing, it's a coachable moment, and I think that's the most important thing with Aspero is he's gonna make mistakes because everybody does, but at least you don't see him coasting where it's, because also on that, I think it was, I'm blanking on which goal it was. It may have been the Dewar backhand. I think it was, because when you see from the reverse angle, you see the juxtaposition between Aspero busting his ass to get back and Zadorov is kind of flat-footed, and it's like, well, if Nikita was getting back a little bit harder, maybe he gets to Dewar before he gets that shot off, and at least with Aspero, it's not, you're not questioning his effort there, right? And so,
yeah,
but I agree. Yes, overall, he didn't have his best game execution-wise.
Yeah, it seemed like Zadorov was kind of coasting back, and it almost seemed like he was looking for someone to pick up for a pass, like make sure I don't overcommit and cover a pass. But there was no one coming. Like there was no pass to cover, so he probably should have just been busting it and like trying to help out Aspero and turning that into a 2-on-1. But yeah, and by the way, so I pulled up Korpisalo rebounds. So 59 goalies have played at least 20 games this season. Korpisalo has given up the most rebounds per save.
Wow.
Now, I will say, like, this doesn't necessarily correlate with bad goalie because number 2 is Ilya Sorokin, who might win the Vezina. So, like Mackenzie Blackwood, who's having a good season, is 4th. So it does not. this isn't just a list of like the worst goalies in the NHL, but I do still think it tells you
Most
something.
rebounds per save. Explain that, because each subsequent rebound produces another save, or
So-
I guess not.
So Korpisalo, so his number is 0.08. So that would translate to, well, 0.1 would mean for every 10 saves you make, you're giving up 1 rebound, right? So 0.08 is a little less than that. So it's like for every 20 saves he makes, he's giving up like 1.6 rebounds, or like that's essentially what it would translate to.
That doesn't sound right. It's just,
Why
I
not?
mean, it sounds like, that sounds like a low number per 20. It's also a weird stat, because then a lot of times like a rebound turns into a second save and a third save real quick because they come right back out in front. Like,
it's essentially what it's measuring is like how many pucks stick to you, right? Like, to put it easy, right? It's just the most straightforward way to explain it. This is just who's giving up the most rebounds based on the number of shots that they face.
Right. And then beyond that, you have rebound control, which is, of course, the game within the game. And some goalies are better at redirecting where the puck's going after a save than others. A little bit of
exactly. Sometimes it's about where the rebound goes, not just that there's a rebound.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. All true. A little bit of Bruins breaking news since being on the podcast. Frederick Brunet 2-year extension, NHL cap hit of $875. A little bit of news there. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, clearly a player the Bruins want to keep around, and I think they probably hope that he pushes for an NHL job next season. He's had a good year in Providence, continues to develop, and is obviously, maybe their only like real defense prospect who's close to being NHL ready. So yeah, like obviously their blue line's pretty full right now in terms of bodies, but you don't know what happens in the off season. Maybe Peak walks, maybe there's another move that lets someone go. Jordan Harris is a restricted free agent, so there certainly could be an opening for Brunet next year.
Yeah, and I'll just read off some of his Providence stats for this season. 11 goals, 17 assists, 28 points, which is the most of any defenseman on Providence this year. And he did come up briefly, made his NHL debut, what was it, last April? Yeah. So he, doesn't have really that much NHL experience. But it kind of felt like there's something there, right? I think each training camp we've said, I could see potential for him to come and step in and have some impact. He gets shots through well in training camp, at least, or in preseason games that we've seen him in. He does have that offensive upside that you can see. So, 2-year contract extension definitely, seems like a good hedge against potentially losing a player to free agency with Peak on an expiring contract. If you, once again, in this offseason don't have a whole lot of options to sign for free agents, then you're going to have to rely on what you already have. So,
yeah, there's not a single negative to that contract extension in my opinion. No. So, guys, one last question for me regarding the Pittsburgh game is, can you think of a TSN turning point? Because for me, I do have one. And you look at the score and you say, well, how do you lose a game when you're up 3-0? Well, it all starts by letting them back into the game at 3-1. And to me, the TSN turning point is, once again, and I don't want to be too cruel on this assessment because it was a 5-on-4 at the time. But to me, it starts with Hampus Lindholm once again taking a stick infraction. And I can't understand for the life of me, between his size and his skating ability, why he has to take so many stick infractions and holds. It's on paper, he's not the defenseman that should be committing these. He should be his skating is good enough. His size is good enough. He shouldn't be behind the play too much. And in this situation, I forget who had the puck for the Penguins, but he's coming down on the rush on the power play, and he had good speed. And I don't want to take away from the speed and the skill of the Penguins forward. It's just you can't take a penalty there.
It wasn't a forward, but it looks.
Oh,
like
it was Erik Karlsson. It was Erik Karlsson. That's right. Yeah. So again, great skater, great puck handler, all those things. But to me, it's a situational awareness thing. It's like, don't put yourself in a position where Erik Karlsson's turning you inside out. Like, have better gap control. I don't know, but you can't put your team down 5-on-3 because when you have a sleeping dog, you don't want to give him any life. And you put Pittsburgh on a 5-on-3 for an extended amount of time. Most teams are going to try to find a way to capitalize, and they did. And next thing you know, they get life, and we all know how the game transpired after that.
I thought that entire play leading up to that penalty looked like a Bruins penalty kill that was just assuming Karlsson was going to drop it back. He was going to start the breakout and drop it back to one of the two trailers. And the Bruins were like still getting into their set. Like they were not even remotely set by the time Karlsson's entering the zone. And it's like, obviously Karlsson saw that and was just like, well, if you're just going to give me space, then see ya. Like, I'm gone. And so, yeah, like I think there's multiple breakdowns there, and it ends up with, by the time he gets to Hampus Lindholm, because he hasn't even started going backwards yet, like, he doesn't have the speed to keep up with Karlsson, who has not been slowed down at any point through the neutral zone, and he has to reach out and take the stick foul. Like, because otherwise Karlsson's going right around him and gets a free shot on goal. So, like, I actually get why Hampus Lindholm takes that penalty in the end, but it starts really with, I think, all 4 penalty kills on the ice. Just not anticipating Karlsson doing that and thinking he's going to drop it, thinking they have more time to get set.
Well, and that's my point too. The actual infraction, yeah, like Karlsson's in all alone, and he's going to try to impede him. But my point is, it shouldn't have gotten to that point.
Yeah,
ultimately, and that's what's frustrating with Lindholm is he finds himself and you can blame the entire unit there, to your point, Scott. But either way, the Bruins were in a position where they got vulnerable, and it shouldn't have happened. And again, like I said, the end result is an extended 5-on-3, and Chinakhov buries one. Hell of a shot, right? That was in and out, like you read about. But now it's 3-1, okay? And that just, I don't know, if that stays a 5-on-4 and you kill it off, I just don't think we're talking about a Bruins loss at the end of the day. And so to me, that was the big turning point. And I don't want to put it all on Hampus because, as you said, it's a team unit thing, and everybody kind of didn't recognize what was happening. But it just seems to happen so much with him, and I just don't. It's beyond that one play. I don't understand why somebody with his size and speed and skating ability he's taking a lot of minor infractions this year.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. Right. I think somebody made a joke. It might have been Brian, I forget, when the Bruins did their tribute video to the Olympians. They grabbed footage from different players, and some guys didn't see the ice much. And I think, Brian, you said, well, they should have just showed his slashing call. It's like that's the one Hampus Lindholm moment of the tournament that we remember is a slash.
And Scott, you mentioned, because this has been a conversation, quite frankly, all year with Lindholm. And earlier on in the season, it was easy to chalk it up to, well, you know what, he's been out of the lineup since November of 24, and he's catching himself up to speed. But as the season's gone on and on, that's no longer an excuse. And Scott, you had mentioned at the time that you pulled up his PIMS throughout the course of his career, and that he was trending to absolutely far and away eclipse his previous career high in penalties taken. And I guess my question is to you guys is why do you think this he's having an off year with the penalties this year? Because I don't think his play has been like, I think for the most part Lindholm he's been good for you, right? I'm talking specifically the penalties he's taking. It doesn't make sense to me for a player of his size and skill, so and speed. But maybe you guys are seeing something that I'm not. Or is it a system thing? Is he getting more D zone face off? So he's defending. I don't know. You guys tell me, but it's got to correct itself because he's too important of a player for them to be in the box because he's going to be somebody that's killing for you too, right? So
yeah, I do wonder if if the injuries and the toll they've taken on his skating, I gotta imagine that's a factor to some point, and it's not that Hampus Lindholm can't skate anymore, right? We still see times where he's able to get going and look smooth, but even if it's more on the quick pivots, coming back, trying to defend the rush, because it feels like that's a lot of them where, someone drives wide on him or tries to cut inside him on the rush and he reaches out. And even times when he doesn't take a penalty, you'll see plays where a guy drives wide on him and he doesn't take a penalty, but it almost looks like desperation to try to hold him off. You can kind of tell he's battling just to keep the guy to the outside and not let him turn that corner to the net. Whereas I think pre-injury, you probably saw him moving smoother in those situations and able to keep the guy in front of him a little easier. But he's his top 3 seasons in penalty minutes for his career are other than last year, obviously, where he only played 17 games, but they're going to be his last 3, full or fullish seasons. His career high was 2 years ago, 63 penalty minutes in 73 games. Second highest was the year before that, 56 in 80 games. And this year he's up to 48 in 49 games. Already the third highest total of his career, and he's probably easily going to end up with his second most and maybe even challenge that career high. And that's in a season where he, again, missed some time. I mean, he missed, 12, 13 games, something like that.
So It sounds like his penalty minutes per game might be the highest, though, right now.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah, I mean, and the main reason why you take a slash and call, a lot of the stick infractions, hooking, tripping, that kind of stuff happens because you're a step behind, right? And you feel like you need to do something, but you're not in the path to defend. You're kind of just trailing a little bit to the point where the other player has the advantage on you, and you're trying to get yourself back in the play, but your legs can't get you there in time. So you try to do something with your stick, and then a lot of times you get called for a slash or hook or trip or whatever. Sometimes, interference, but normally it's a stick infraction. So, yeah, sometimes you can get a clean poke check or something, but a lot of times they see that you're behind them too, and that automatically has the officials thinking, "Oh, what's he gonna do? Is he gonna slash? Is he gonna do something illegal here?" So yeah,
I remember tracking this a little bit early in the season, so I just wanted to look, and the Bruins still have 4 players in the top 30 in the NHL in minor penalties. It's not ideal. Nikita Zadorov's number 1. He's actually 8 clear of the field with 36.
And it feels like he's done.
Hampus Lindholm and Charlie Mack. Sorry, Bridget, go ahead.
I was gonna say, it feels like this is a better year than last year, but he's still
yeah, I know, right? And then Hampus Lindholm and Charlie McAvoy each have 22. That's tied for 17th. And Mark Kastelic has 21, which is tied for 23rd.
Man, I mean, I don't know why Hampus is standing out to me so much then. I mean, he's up there to your point, Scott, but there's guys around him on the Bruins that are right there with them. But for some reason, he just, I don't know. I just noticed it with him more. Maybe it's because I just expect better gap control and from him and not.
It's like the times that it's taken as well.
It feels like he's had, I know definitely at least 2 of these, maybe 3 that have given the opponent an extended 5-on-3.
Yeah, and that's probably why yesterday stands out to me too, because it's a timing thing. To your point, Bridget, it's situational awareness,
and can the team kill off the ensuing opponent's power play? You're gonna notice it more when you remember that it hurt the team, right? So if the PK then just, and this may be just coincidence, doesn't kill off those penalties that you were the one in the box for, people remember them more. So.
Definitely. So looking ahead, we have, is it 19 games remaining for Boston or 20?
19 to go.
19 remaining. 2 of them are against the Blue Jackets, both in Columbus. So huge games, including the second to last game of the year. You have another game against Washington, I believe. Some big games down the stretch here, of course. Let's talk Jeremy Swayman. He's paid to be their guy. He's performing to the level of a top 10 goaltender this year. What should his workload be in the final 19 games? You can lump that in with how Jonas has been playing and where your confidence is in him. But going down the stretch here, you have to be nails, and this is a time of year where you should be relying on your guy, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess in my mind, I look at it this way. They have 5 back-to-backs left. We know it's very unusual for any goalie to start both ends of a back-to-back. I look at Korpisalo probably getting a start in each of those 5 back-to-backs. And I think Swayman gets everything else and starts 14 of these final 19. I think there's enough spacing between the other games that he should be able to handle that. And his only rest, the only place they're going to spot him starts is when it's a back-to-back, whether that's the front end or the back end. But, I think he's going to get all 3 games this week, right? Home against LA on Tuesday, home against San Jose Thursday, and then at Washington on Saturday. So that makes sense to me. I mean, he's played well recently, and Korpisalo has struggled 2 starts in a row. So yeah, I think unless Swayman gives you a reason not to, I think this is the time where you got to ride him a bit.
Yeah, and then it feels like next week, like maybe New Jersey, Korpisalo gets on the first night of the back-to-back, and then give Swayman Montreal the next day. So that's Monday, Tuesday, back-to-back next week. And then, I mean, there's important games coming up against divisional opponents, right? Like we're talking about, and also the Washington game is important because it's, I guess I'll just say Eastern Conference opponents. Washington game is important on Saturday because of their proximity in the standings. Montreal, and then you got Detroit next Saturday too. So, or the following Saturday. So, that's another, and then Toronto and then Buffalo. Like there's a few games that feel really important that you have to make the right choices in net for. And not always an easy choice when you don't feel like you can go to both guys, but you also don't want the other, your main guy to have fatigue or, wear and tear heading into the playoffs where you to find your way in.
And Bridget, you mentioned the Capitals and Scott, to your point earlier this episode, you're right. The Bruins did outplay the Capitals. So I would say Washington and Philly are the 2 games the Bruins outplayed their opponents. I think the reason why I was kind of forgetting the fact that the Bruins outplayed the Caps in 2 of their 3 periods against them was because the ABC broadcast just felt like it was so anti-Bruins. Like it's all, the Capitals are playing so well, and every Bruins power play they were saying shouldn't have been a call. Every Bruins, it just felt so anti-Boston. And then you add in the Stadium Series jerseys. My brain was in a pretzel. I was just out of it that game. But you're right. The Bruins didn't play the Caps.
You saw the jerseys they were wearing and you just tuned out.
Yeah, I just tuned right
out.
You
watch it.
Yeah. They, at one point, I think it must have been the second period, they were like praising the Capitals. They're like, they're playing a really good road period here. And I think the Bruins shots in the period were like 8-1 Bruins or something at that point. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, they've spent the entire period in their own zone. Like, what? Yeah, that was it was like they were just looking. I think they went in with like a narrative in their mind of like the Capitals are gonna overcome, trading away Carlson and Dowd and like rally together. And it's like they just stuck to that, even though the game wasn't really playing out that way.
Yeah, I agree. Is it?
So sometimes I know exactly what happened because like doing bean pot prep is like you have we have production meetings a week before and like in between and everything, and it's like, okay, these are the players we want to talk about. These are the storylines. These are all, we have graphics made for everything. And then the game just doesn't play out that way. And you're like, should we still use the graphic? I don't know. Should we still talk about this player who hasn't touched the puck yet? Like sometimes it just doesn't pan out how you planned it. You got to be ready to use it if necessary, but you also have to be ready to ditch it if it's not applicable. So
I just feel like every time the Bruins play on national TV, it feels like the broadcast is giving the opponent their flowers, and then the Bruins, they just give like backhanded compliments too. Like, for example, the nicest thing they'll say about the Bruins is this Bruins second line, they're getting a lot of production out of what is a shutdown line. And, really they would be a third line in any other NHL team, but Zacha, Middlestad, and Arvidsson, it's like, that's nice, but it's backhanded, and it's like the nicest thing you'll hear them say.
It's not
No,
nice.
because
It's not even accurate either, because
they'll talk about how much they're producing, but then they'll be like, and they're producing so much for what's probably a third line on paper. It's like, okay, it's
Well,
just it's a fictitious example, but
look at the advanced stats that Scott said earlier about them being second behind the McKinnon line. So yeah.
Right,
that's another problem with national broadcast that I don't get me started with. I know I've complained about before, but like you can tell that the focus was only in there, and you can't blame them because a lot of them do a lot of different teams and in different sports, but like they weren't paying attention to the rest of the Bruins season. Like a lot of times it comes from like lack of seeing a team, lack of really following it, and then the storylines become like more over, like the over talked about stuff, like the generic stuff, right? And I have arguments with people about this in the business, like, well, Bridget, don't you think they should just talk about the basics because their audience isn't really, they didn't follow them the whole year either. I'm like, well, I think fans are smarter than that. I don't know, but I've had arguments with.
Well, the absolute worst case of that was actually the Celtics game on Sunday. That they were also on national TV playing the Cavs on ABC, and I really like the Shaq Charles Barkley studio show, like just for sheer entertainment value. Obviously, was on TNT forever, now on ESPN. But they at halftime, Charles Barkley, they're showing Baylor Shireman highlights because he had a really good game, and Barkley's like, I've never even heard of this guy before today, and it's like he's been a starter for the Celtics, who are like one of the 3 best teams in the NBA for more than half the season. Like, yeah. I'm sorry, but like you did literally zero homework if you're doing a Celtics game and like you never heard of Baylor Shireman.
Yes, correct.
Well, I'm sure the national televised games will only increase down the stretch here and into the playoffs.
They do. The Bruins have a bunch of them. Like they're on ABC again the next 2 Saturdays. One at 3 o'clock, one at 8 o'clock. They got an ABC. They got a ESPN game in there somewhere. They got another TNT game later this month.
Yeah, I also just it's a product of being in 2026, but every national TV game, it's like, okay, which streaming service can I watch it on? Like the most recent one was on TNT, so you have to watch it on like with HBO Max or something, and you try to click the game, and it's giving you 3 minutes of ads, and then it's just like and then it's like your program will resume shortly, and it's just like this like therapeutic music in the background. I feel like I'm at a salon, and then the game goes on, and it's like it says skip to live action, and then it's like I thought I was a live act. The whole thing's a mess.
Yeah, because you must have cut cable, Brian. I also don't have cable unless I'm at my parents' house, so sometimes I have to make the desperation move.
Yeah.
Just go. But, yeah.
Yep. It's too bad. Anyway, all right. Any final thoughts from you guys?
I had one. So quick standings note, because again, I just find it funny how bad the Western Conference has been this year. If you just went by point totals, right now there is not a single team in the Pacific Division that would be in the playoffs in the Eastern Conference.
Wow.
The division leader right now is Anaheim at 73 points. The Bruins are the last team in the East at 76 points.
Yeah, good job, guys. Good job. Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah, what a year for them. Crazy. That's just,
which, by the way, like does relate to the Bruins' next 2 opponents, getting the Kings and Sharks, who aren't like especially good teams. Both of their goal differentials are -20 or worse. But they're still very much in the middle of the playoff race because the cutoff line in the West is 67 points, and you had LA at 64, San Jose at 67 or at 66. So, might not be facing the absolute best teams on paper this week, but you are going to be facing two desperate teams. That's for sure.
Well, it's also interesting too, because you mentioned the standing statistics, Scott, and two teams that are in the Pacific that will be included in that, which are beneath Anaheim, is Edmonton and Vegas. And I don't know about you, and don't get me wrong, Edmonton has their questions, but I would take either of those teams in the playoff series against a lot of teams in the East that are playoff teams. So
I don't know if I would, man. Those two teams are struggling a lot. Like they look bad.
Yeah, I know, but those
I know they can turn it on, and like I'm never gonna count out McDavid and Draisaitl just taking over a series. And the Vegas team has experience. Like a lot of that core's won a cup. Yeah, I get it, but like they gotta pick it up like a lot between now and the postseason.
Yeah, that's fair. You know what? While you're looking at the standings, Scott, what would the Western playoff matchups be right now?
So you would have you'd have Colorado against Seattle, Dallas against Minnesota, which again, just like insane that has to be a first round series. Anaheim against Utah and Vegas against Edmonton.
Well, Colorado has played Seattle once in the playoffs and they lost.
True. So
a little small history there, but not the sexiest matchups. I'd like to see some different matchups than those probably, but there's time for that to shake out. And how about in the East? What are the playoff matchups in the East?
As of today, you would have Carolina against Boston, Penguins against the Islanders, Buffalo against Montreal, and Tampa versus Detroit.
Okay.
But Buffalo, I know we touched on it very briefly earlier, but Buffalo now first in the division after that crazy 8-7 win over Tampa with like 5 fights in that game.
That would be a fun playoff series after that.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
If somehow that's a playoff series, not necessarily in the first round, doesn't look like, but
yeah, it'd have to be second round at least, huh?
Yeah.
Buffalo, good for Buffalo. I'm looking forward to their first playoff games at home. That place is going to be absolutely insane.
Yeah, it seemed like Tampa was like just trying to bully them, like put them in their place, and I actually kind of thought it was working because like they were roughing up Rasmus Dahlin, and there wasn't really like a whole lot of response. I mean, Brandon Hagel basically just like sucker punched him from behind multiple times, which
he got his shirt pulled over his head at one point.
Yeah, and I'm like,
classic.
Brandon Hagel should probably get suspended. I don't know if he's going to, but like that was if one of those catches Dahlin the wrong way, like you're looking at like a Bertuzzi Moore incident. Like,
yeah,
Dahlin did not expect that at all, and Hagel's like clocking him in the side of the head from behind. But anyways, obviously they just ratchet up the whole temperature of that game and like went crazy. You had over 100 penalty minutes. But yeah, I mean, good for Buffalo. They're down 7-5 and they end up winning 8-7.
Yeah, they only played once this year before that game, so it's not like there was a ton of animosity that built up. Yeah, I think it was just the game was just built so high. I think Tampa was like, "Oh, you want to take the division from us?" That's all that the motivation was. So, like I said, I think the Buffalo market is one of the best hockey markets in the country when they're going. They've been. I mean, you see it in the ratings. The Buffalo is constantly number one in national ratings as far as like watching hockey out of Buffalo, not Buffalo games being highly rated. They've been through so much.
It's another big sports city, right? Like the sports fan bases for you probably transfer over from the Bills and just like a sports town kind of like Boston, but with less success recently. But it was funny did you see on the Jumbotron when they had like 5 guys in each penalty box? They would show one box and the crowd would cheer, and they show the other box and they would boo. And like it kind of reminded me of like the Bean Pot, where like BC fans, if there's like a BU student on, they boo, and then if it was like it was just funny. It was just funny.
Buffalo is one of so their sports station there, WGR, is like one of the markets I manage. They're an Odyssey station, sister station. And our guy Brayton there, who does like a lot of Sabres coverage and stuff, this like resurfaced and has kind of gone viral. I saw like Paul Bisnet retweeted it, but it was a tweet he had from 2019. And he said, some guy just called the station 3 times claiming to be a psychic. And he said the Sabres are winning the Stanley Cup in 2026 and the Bills are winning the Super Bowl in 2027. So like now this tweet from 2019 is like going viral and everyone's circulating it.
I've been a proponent of getting a psychic on this show ever since that one email I got that tried to get us to get that mentalist. They're like, do you want him to come on your show? He's in Boston this week. I'm like, guys, should we get him to give us a playoff prediction?
That'll be crazy. I mean, Buffalo's obviously an exciting team, and if they were able to bypass the playoff experience needed to win a cup and just go right to winning a cup, that would be crazy. It's been an interesting dynamic the last decade plus of the Sabres becoming the poster child for a lack of success and kind of like the laughing stock of the NHL, not making the playoffs in 14 years, whatever it's been, because that's been my adulthood version of the Sabres. But my childhood, the Sabres were always really good and always a perennial, Eastern Conference playoff team and always seemingly having their way with the Bruins. And so I grew up with the Sabres being very good and seeing that place rocking and their fans traveling well. So to see the last 10 years play out, 10 plus, and have a whole generation of kids growing up thinking that Buffalo is, an irrelevant NHL franchise is weird because, like I said, that market is really fun when they're going well.
Yeah,
and
when they had Miller in net, like that's.
Yeah, I mean that Bruins Sabres,
the curse of Milan Lucic.
Yeah, that Bruins Sabres playoff series in 2010, I think it's one of the more underrated fun series the Bruins have had in this millennium. It was only a 6-gamer, but it was exciting. It was fun. Both buildings were great, and yeah. So hopefully, we're in for some great playoff hockey in Buffalo for some years to come here because they're one of the really good markets in the league. That'll do it for me. You guys have any final thoughts?
Yeah, my final thought is: did you notice at all that I put Scott's face in the corner like 30 minutes ago?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I did notice. I just didn't find the right time to interrupt to mention it. But yeah,
I did not notice. No,
I do it a lot, and people just you guys don't even acknowledge it or see. I think Scott's never seen it until I pointed out, but I just try to like sneak it in, like this is the normal one, and then I'm just like,
do you already have that on a button? And if not, could you get a couple of?
I don't have any buttons. No, I've had stickers.
I need a pin. I need to pin something onto my shirt.
That's a good call. Maybe a hat at some point, but I even made a Christmas ornament that goes on my Christmas tree.
I think the next step is like a 3D like automated version that like pops and it like pops out and then it shrinks back down and then it pops out.
Like you want cool. Like your own like wacky inflatable guy?
No, I think more of like a, I don't know, like a pop-up type of thing,
like a Jack in the Box.
Maybe you can like push it out or something. So yeah, so it looks like popcorn popping.
Do you imagine?
Yeah, no.
This is officially where we lose people.
It's a clown prop that instead of squirting water, squirts popcorn butter.
Oh God.
You've lost me at this point, and now I'm hungry too because I haven't eaten yet today. But
yeah, all right. Well, that'll do it for this episode. Thank you all for listening. We'll talk to you on Wednesday. Hey guys, thanks for watching the Skate Podcast. If you want to see more of our videos, visit our playlist.
Not in front of a screen. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Don't forget to follow us on social media. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and leave a comment.